This space has such a complicated history. There'll be a new kind of drill happening in here.
What's going on, y'all? It's Liam Crowley with ScreenRant. We're here at South by Southwest, and we're kicking off our Monday with the team behind Assembly. Guys, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So I love seeing documentaries at South by, especially we were talking before the camera started, that having this experience with an audience is pretty unique. What was it like to show this film to a live crowd?
It was great. It's the first time we've done it. In the 7 years we've been working on it, and it was really nice to see how the way they interact to different parts of the film. Like sometimes when you're editing something, you don't know how it's going to play, if it's going to be funny, and there were so many hilarious moments within the film that we didn't anticipate.
And Johnny?
One of the things that was so great was having our cast and crew here with us. We worked so hard on this film for, as Rashaad said, 7 years. And so to have the talent there and really to have them see themselves on screen, the way that, how that it felt to be represented that way was really amazing. And then to have the audience react to that as well.
And I'd love to kind of go on this 7-year journey that you guys were on. You both co-directed and co-wrote the project. What was that collaborative process like over the course of the 7 years of development?
So I started the film, and because I'm not just the protagonist, I'm also the director, I knew I needed a co-director who could sort of step in and direct me when I'm in camera. And when I met Johnny and him having such a decorated past in observational filmmaking, I knew that was what we needed to kind of create that foundation to, firm it up in documentary, but also I wanted to kind of have it still be able to meet my art practice where it is and bring in all these like surreal and sci-fi moments as well.
And Johnny?
Yeah, so, as Rashaad said, I have a long experience with creating observational documentaries, but what was so amazing about this collaboration was working with Rashaad's incredibly creative mind and really pushing the form, thinking about what else can we bring to documentary in terms of an art piece. And Rashaad has such an amazing imagination and created all of these incredible visual effects that really lifted the film to a new level.
And one thing that makes documentaries stand out beyond the feature films is oftentimes you'll go in not knowing what your third act is going to be. You start with kind of a blueprint, and then as you start filming stuff, the story evolves over time. Was that the case with Assembly?
Yeah, to some extent. We kind of knew that it would culminate with the end of the show, but at the same time we had an AI character in the film that started out as a quote unquote artwork in the show, but then that kind of shifted and we made that character a full on, gave them a full character arc within the film. So that was sort of a journey in figuring out what their journey was going to be within the film.
Very much so.
Yeah, when we first started the project, we were focusing a lot on Rashaad's art practice, but it wasn't until Rashaad had this incredible opportunity to do this show in New York, transforming this military facility into really a manifestation of his imagination, bringing in, a hologram that's 40 feet tall and, dancers and performers from all over the world. That transformation of that was so incredible. So we had a narrative arc kind of built in, the mounting of this show and the release of the show. But what we didn't realize was how much the show would change the people who were involved in it. And so we had these incredible folks who were performing, who shared their intimate stories, and Rashaad working with them so closely to kind of soothe their self-doubts and make sure they really brought their performance to its highest level on the stage.
And were any of those anecdotes, did any of them stand out? Some of the A-roll material you guys got for this, the stories that people were sharing, any of them particularly move you?
Yeah, I mean, there's one that I think was really amazing. There was, it's a show with queer and trans people at the forefront, almost all Black, other people of color. And there was one character named Nakia who is a 6'5" Black trans woman, and we filmed her in the show, but at one point she started telling us about what it was like to actually get to the show, just to travel from her place through the streets of New York into the theater, and just how much she how challenging it is to walk down the streets of New York when you're a 6'5" black trans woman because of the way people look at you. And so we went and filmed her walking on the streets, and it was just ended up being a really incredibly powerful scene, to get inside her head and really see the way that people react around her.
And Rashaad, getting to screen this film, like I said, for audiences, did you have any personal moments with people after they saw this film that they felt they were represented in your work?
Yeah, I had a really interesting conversation with a young woman last night who was from Kenya, and she really enjoyed the way in which we dealt with me going to Africa and dealing with what it feels like to be a displaced African, and then to go back as a black queer person and wanting to connect to your past, but also understanding that being there, is illegal to be queer. And so how do you reconcile being where you're from, but connecting to where you're from, but still feeling this, massive disconnect? And my answer was just stories like this, getting more in that territory that humanize people's experiences.
Yeah, well, it's really cool that you guys were able to bring this to South by. The most passionate film fans in the world are here. So I'm glad it resonated with people. Congrats on the project.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
There is room here for every universe.